Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to attend plenary session of the 15th BRICS Summit on Wednesday, to also hold bilateral meetings with fellow leaders on the sidelines. It's D-Day for India's lunar mission Chandrayaan-3. It will attempt to make soft landing on the south pole of the moon later this evening. Polls open in crucial Zimbabwe presidential vote. Second general election since 2017 coup that deposed the late ruler Robert Mugabe. And India's chess sensation Praggnanandhaa and world number 1 Magnus Carlsen draw first game of the Chess FIDE World Cup final. The players return for day 2 of the final today. Up first, all the updates on the 15th BRICS Summit on in Johannesburg, South Africa. So it's day 2 of the 15th BRICS Summit underway in Johannesburg, South Africa. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold bilateral meetings with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa in a short while from now. He will meet other leaders as well on the sidelines of the summit. Later in the day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to attend open and closed plenary sessions in Johannesburg. Looking ahead, BRICS leaders are expected to discuss whether new members will be allowed to join the bloc. DD India correspondent Amritpal Singh has filed this report.
The leaders will again meet today. Before they hold a press conference, they will make major announcements on what was achieved at the Johannesburg summit. Later in the evening, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa will host a state banquet in their honor, where cultural performances from across South Africa will be held. With cameraman YK Loknath, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Johannesburg.
On to the big story of the day. Well, it's D-Day for India's historic mission to the moon. Chandrayaan-3 will attempt to make a soft landing on the moon's south pole on Wednesday. Experts say that the final 15 to 20 minutes will be crucial for the success of the mission. The powered descent is expected to commence around 17:45 hours Indian Standard Time. In the evening, that is, while the landing will take place around 18:04 hours Indian Standard Time. Russia's Lunar 25 spacecraft had crashed to land on moon's south pole this weekend. It was also on its way to the moon's south pole. So this means that Chandrayaan-3 could become the first to land on the moon's dark side if successful. This is India's third lunar mission. Officials say the aim is to study the moon's geology, water resources, and potential for future space exploration. You can watch the entire landing of Chandrayaan-3 live on ISRO's website, as well as on Doordarshan's national TV network this evening from 5:27 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Shortly after touchdown, one side panel of the Vikram lander will unfold, creating a ramp for the Praggnanandhaa rover to land. The 6-wheeled rover seated within the lander module will descend from the lander's belly and, using navigation cameras, will scan its lunar surroundings. As it will roll, the rover will leave imprints of the Indian tricolour and ISRO logo on the lunar regolith, that soil, making a mark, India's mark on the moon. So as India nears its lunar journey, let's know more about the ISRO's Praggnanandhaa rover.
Chandrayaan-3's rover showcases India's pioneering spirit on the lunar canvas. Right after landing, a spectacular moment unfolds. The side panel of the Chandrayaan-3 lander swings open, unveiling a ramp for the rover to roll out. Meet Praggnanandhaa, the rover with a mission. It emerges from the lander's belly, ready to drive down the ramp and begin its lunar exploration. But wait, there is more. Praggnan's rear wheels are carving history. They are leaving behind imprints of ISRO and India's national emblem, quite literally, symbolizing India's presence on the moon. Praggnan is marking the lunar surface with pride. With a mission life of 1 lunar day or 14 Earth days, Praggnan is on a tight schedule to uncover lunar mysteries. And if Chandrayaan-3 triumphs, India will claim its spot as the first to conquer the lunar South Pole. Let's cheer for Chandrayaan-3 as it paves the way for India's historic lunar journey. With camera person CK Ashok, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for DD India from Bangalore.
So it will take a lot for the lander and the rover to be traveling at a speed of 6,000 kilometers per hour to deboost and soft land on the lunar surface of the moon. Well, wishes are pouring in for the success of this mission, Chandrayaan-3, in the western Indian state of Maharashtra. Indian classical dancer, Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi dancer Pooja Hirwade performed Bharatanatyam on Namo Namo Bharatambe and Chandrayaan anthem. Let's take a look. Also in the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, students prayed in the sacred prayer ceremony that's called Havan for the smooth and successful landing on the moon. Delegates from Colorado State University also participated in this Havan, which will continue till the launch this evening. The upcoming lunar landing is the latest step for the Indian Space Research Organisation, ISRO, since the first Chandrayaan blasted off in 2008. Our correspondent Amit Mukherjee tells us more.
2, 1, 0.
It's India's latest space odyssey. Chandrayaan-3 taking off nearly 6 weeks ago on July the 14th. The blast-off was perfect. The Indian Space Agency's craft lifting off from Sriharikota heading for orbit, carrying the lunar module Vikram for its ambitious mission. After several orbits of the Earth and the Moon, the 40-day mission is now at its penultimate stage. As Vikram made the last few passes around the Moon, the onboard systems were engaged in last-minute self-checks. Vikram has been orbiting the Moon since Sunday at 6,000 kilometers per hour. And that's a challenge for the landing. There's no atmosphere on the Moon, so deploying parachutes to slow the descent isn't possible. But to land softly means slowing that 6,000 kilometers an hour to almost zero. And it also means making sure what it's landing on, as the Moon's south pole is covered in boulders and craters.
Even with the two-engine failure, we will still be able to land this time. We have made sure that capacity exists, the algorithms are capable of handling it, and we designed the whole process even with two-engine. Now it will continue to send the pictures during the landing process. We will be able to get them immediately.
If it's successful, India will only be the 4th country to achieve a soft landing on the Moon after the US, the former Soviet Union, and China. But that's just the first goal. Next is a long list of scientific experiments spanning 2 weeks, studying the Moon's atmosphere and digging into the surface to learn more about its minerals. This may tell scientists whether people could eventually live on the Moon. But the Chandrayaan story is a long one, in distance and time. The program started 24 years ago under the former Chief of India's Space Agency, K. Kasturi Rangan. Chandrayaan-1 was the first Indian lunar probe. It was launched by ISRO in 2008 and operated for almost a year. The Chandrayaan-2 mission was even more complex in terms of both technology and aims. It was launched 11 years later in 2019 from the same space center, Sriharikota, later named Satish Dhawan. The lunar orbiter carried out 8 major experiments and a lot was learned. This mission is built on everything the space agency discovered in those first 2 missions, including critical details about the moon's surface, underground facts, and the atmosphere.
As Vikram is making the final maneuvers and gearing up for the tasks ahead, the world is watching, waiting to see if India is able to initiate its mission to explore the dark mysteries of the moon. In New Delhi, Amit Mukherjee, DD India.
So India's space technology has made remarkable strides, with the nation's space research organization leading the way, from launching satellites for communication, navigation and Earth observation to successful Mars and Moon missions. India has showcased its prowess in space exploration. Why is space tech important for any country? Palak Sharma gets us more on that.
From India's first satellite, Aryabhat, launched in 1975, to the most recent launch last year, India's space journey has spanned 48 years and over 150 satellites. But why is space tech so important? Because it's of national importance. For better communications, satellite networks for defense, to predict weather and natural disasters, and for other science-based missions.
You wake up in the morning, you check the weather, you are using a satellite. You go to an ATM, take out your money, you are using a satellite. You move, you've come to this place, you have used Google, which is again aided by space. A farmer in a village somewhere, checking if there would be rain or what is the right time to put his plant, uses again space technology. Space technology today has reached every part of our system.
In recent months, the world has seen many natural hazards and severe weather events. Using environmental satellites to observe the Earth from space is one of the key tools in forecasting weather, analyzing climate and monitoring hazards worldwide. India uses the INSAT 3DR, an advanced weather satellite built by the Indian Space Agency ISRO, to get weather-related details and search and rescue information. Satellites can save lives. Cyclone Biparjoy hit India and neighbouring countries in June this year. Because of the satellite data, advanced prediction of the cyclone ensured a record low death toll.
The major breakthrough came in India with the launching of the meteorological satellites in 1983. Since 1983, we went on monitoring the weather systems.
We must be second to none in the application of advanced technologies to the real problems of man and society. These are the words of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. He is regarded as one of the greatest space scientists of India. He founded the Indian Space Research Organization, and his words still resonate today at the National Space Agency of India. ISRO currently has the world's largest constellation of remote sensing satellites. It has developed many medium lift launch vehicles, rocket engines and satellite systems, launching hundreds of domestic and foreign satellites and many missions to explore deep space.
The reason you can see and hear me right now are satellites. While it may seem like a topic that is beyond our understanding and realm, the truth is that satellites affect all of our everyday lives in a very significant way. Palak Sharma in New Delhi for DD India.
So at a time when the world is competing in sort of a moon marathon, India's space journey has seen a remarkable growth, from carrying rocket heads on a bicycle once to now aiming to land on the moon's south pole. More from Dibendu Montal.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Half a century ago, history was made. Neil Armstrong becoming the first man to walk on the moon. This changed how the world looked at space, the moon seeming more closer to Earth than ever before, and it was a victory for the United States over the Soviet Union. Between 1957 and 1975, both the United States and the Soviet Union were engaged in a fierce race to the space. Even though the Soviets sent the first man into space in 1961, the race to the moon was won by the United States. The Soviets could not land a man to the moon. The space race widened to other countries like Canada, Japan, France, and China, who started their own space exploration in the 1960s and 70s. In 1975, in a surprise development, both the superpowers agreed to cooperate on space exploration. An Apollo shuttle docked with the Soyuz mission in the outer space. The crews greeted each other with a handshake that ended the last leg of the space race.
A new era of space race and space exploration began during the early 2000s. Many new countries like that of India also entered into the foray.
The United States was now up against the emerging superpowers such as China and India, as well as its old rival, Russia. India's space journey has seen a remarkable growth, from carrying rocket heads on a bicycle to now aiming to land on the moon's south pole. The Indian Space Research Organization, the leading agency for India's space program, has come a long way. But there are still dangers ahead. The Russian mission failed when its spacecraft crashed just days after taking off. It's hoped India's Chandrayaan-3 will make a soft landing on the moon's south pole. This will be a historic new chapter in India's space story.
The interest in outer space in the recent time is not just limited to government agencies, but also has drawn keen interest from private players. There have been many new startups in the field of space and space exploration in the recent times.
Organizations like SpaceX and Blue Origin have launched and tested private flights into space. Billionaire Jeff Bezos recently made a round trip to the space. This has opened the possibility of space tourism in the future.
Private players are taking a lead into it, as you mentioned that about the Elon Musk of the SpaceX and Blue Origin by the Jeff Bezos and Charles Bronson, the Virgin. So a lot of corporate is taking space in that direction. Like Chandrayaan mission, I've been told that there are about 80% private sector companies are involved into making the Chandrayaan-3.
The advancement of technology, growing interest from private players, and a rise in hundreds of startups in the space sector has brought outer space even more closer to Earth. Dibyendu Mondal's report for DD India.
So we in India are all very hopeful for the successful soft landing of Chandrayaan-3 on the lunar surface today. That's 18:04 hours Indian Standard Time. Let's now move on and take a look at other stories making news in India today. India's President Draupadi Murmu has said the country's national education policy is promoting holistic education by harmonizing skill development, industry connect and employability. Addressing the Goa University convocation ceremony, President Murmu emphasized on innovation and research. Manipur Governor has summoned the assembly session on August 29th. Discussions are aimed at finding amicable solutions to the ongoing violence in the region. The Indian Coast Guard has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Philippine Coast Guard to enhance maritime cooperation. It aims to enhance ties between the two nations for ensuring safe, secure and clean seas in the region. To cater to the high demand for sugar during the upcoming festive season, the Indian government on Tuesday announced an additional allotment of 200,000 tons of sugar to the domestic quota for August. The decision takes into account the expected surge in demand during festivals such as Onam, Raksha Bandhan and Janmashtami. You're with us on DD India Live, still to come in the bulletin. Voting underway in the Zimbabwe general elections. 11 candidates are running for the presidency, with the current president seeking a re-election. Japan begins releasing Fukushima radioactive water this Thursday. The highly controversial move drawing sharp criticism from neighboring countries. Japan, real estate tycoon Srettha Thavisin has been endorsed by the king as Thailand's 30th Prime Minister. Welcome back. You're watching Lead India Live. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Zimbabweans started voting on Wednesday in the presidential and legislative elections. Polling began at 7 a.m. Indian Standard Time and is set to close at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time at more than 12,300 polling stations. 11 candidates are running for the presidency, with the current president, ZANU-PF's octogenarian Emmerson Mnangagwa seeking re-election. He became president in 2018 after a coup ousted former leader Robert Mugabe in 2017. Nearly 6.6 million Zimbabweans have registered to vote in a population of over 15 million. On to Asia now. Japan will begin releasing treated radioactive water from the tsunami-hit Fukushima nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean from Thursday. Highly controversial move has drawn sharp criticism from neighboring countries. Hong Kong has decided to indefinitely ban most Japanese seafood from Thursday if Japan goes ahead with the plan. China is also protesting the release, but former opponents South Korea now says that it meets scientific safety standards. Locals too continue to express resentment, saying that the government has not won their trust yet. As of now, the energy company, Tokyo Electric Power Company, has begun moving treated wastewater for testing and monitoring. DD India's correspondent Chris Gilbert gives us more on the story.
The process is already underway. TIPCO, the company which ran the nuclear power plant, and the company which is discharging this water, they have released the first volumes of treated water into a dilution tank. Not a lot, just about 1 metric ton of water into a dilution tank, and then they have mixed it with about 1,000 tons of pure seawater, non-contaminated seawater, and this is to dilute the treated water and lower the concentration of tritium, the nuclide which remains after treatment, so it is safe in the esteem of Japan's government, of TIPCO and the IAEA, to be discharged into the ocean. They have sampled this mixture. They are finding out the results this afternoon or this evening Japan time, just to make sure that it is within the safety range that they are predicting, and if the weather cooperates and the samples look good, then this plan is set to begin tomorrow morning.
Let's now quickly take a look at what else is happening across the world, starting with Thailand. Thailand's king on Wednesday endorsed Srettha Thavisin as the country's new prime minister. Srettha won the backing of 2/3 of the parliament to become the 30th premier of Thailand. His victory paves the way for the Pheu Thai party to form a new coalition government, bringing an end to 3 months of political deadlock. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated Srettha Thavisin on his election win. All 8 people trapped in a broken cable car in Pakistan were rescued on Tuesday in a unique rescue operation that lasted more than 15 hours. 7 children and 1 man were stranded about 900 feet in the air after one of the cable lines carrying the car snapped while they were crossing a river canyon. Army officials have called it an extremely dangerous and difficult operation. A rare and unique giraffe has been born at a zoo in the United States. The baby giraffe has no spots on her body, unlike most of her species. Born on July 31st, she is the only solid-colored giraffe in the world. The last known recorded spotless giraffe was born in a zoo in Japan in 1972. And on to sporting action now. The first game of the Chess World Cup final between India's chess sensation R. Praggnanandhaa and world number 1 Magnus Carlsen ended in a draw yesterday after 35 moves. Both players will return for game 2 of the final today. If the match is not decided in the second game, then the tiebreakers will set in. R. Praggnanandhaa had stunned world number 3 Fabiano Caruana on Monday via the tie-break again in the semi-finals to set up this summit clash with world number 1 Magnus Carlsen. And on to cricket, their third and final T20 match between India and Ireland will take place at the Village, Dublin today. India is currently leading the series 2-0. After winning the first T20 in a rain-affected match, the men in blue won the second T20 by 33 runs. Although Team India has already won the series, they will hope to make it 3 wins out of 3. In badminton, India's Lakshya Sen has reached the third round of the World Championships. The Indian shuttler eased past Korea's Jeon Hyuk Jin in straight sets on Tuesday. Sen defeated his opponent 21-11, 21-12 in a match that lasted only 36 minutes in Copenhagen. In another men's singles game of the World Championship, HS Pranoy, another Indian, took just 44 minutes to beat Indonesia's Chico Ora Dwi Wardoyo in straight sets. The Indian shuttler beat Chico Ora Dwi by 21-9, 21-14 to back the last victory for India on Tuesday. So that's all in this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day and the new look of our channel. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at DD India Live. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.